Welcome to the EarthWorks podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon from many of our turf friends from the past 30 years.
Hi, everybody. This is Joel Simmons, and we are on location at Green Pond Country Club in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, with my old friend, Rodger Zellner. And Rodger, you've been here for... Oh, and by the way, this is the EarthWorks podcast, which I haven't said yet. But Rodger, you've been here for most of your life now, haven't you?
It'll be 25 years in November, Joel.
Wow, that's amazing. So talk to me about what Green Pond is like. This is a small, I don't want to say this in a negative way, but a blue-collar golfers club. Talk about Green Pond here.
Oh, yeah, we're a public daily fee golf course. We do have the country club name.
Yeah.
We do a lot of banquets, weddings, also golf outings. But golf-wise, we're open to the public.
Yeah, I've been in this now. So I was actually a county agent in this county, and Green Pond has always been, the country club or the golf club or the public place. So I've known this property for a very long time. In fact, one of my business partners was your predecessor, and I tell this. So you and I talked about this the other day. Green Pond Golf Club is the first place that EarthWorks was ever spread. Jerry Bernetti and I came out here with a dusty bag of 545, and I think you and I walked around the other day. It is fairway 2?
Number two.
Yeah. We went out, had no idea what a golf course was, didn't know what a fairway was. I don't think I'd ever held a golf club in my life, but we came out here and we put down the dustiest product that was ever made in the horticultural market, and Mark Fulner was gracious enough to let us put it down. And EarthWorks has been here for a very long time, and I'm grateful for the club and for you that we had a chance to put down some stars. So we've been playing with this place. But talk about what's going on today. You are one of the things I really want to get into is that you're general manager, you're superintendent, you're bottle washer, you're probably cook on some weekends. I mean, this is like a little family that you got working here.
Yeah, we try to limit the cooking, though, Joel.
That's good. I've seen your cooking.
So I guess it depends on the day which hat I wear.
Yeah.
So, but we're blessed with a lot of full-time employees that have been here a long time. Some of my maintenance guys have been here since the 70s.
That's amazing. I mean, in this day and age, to have those guys. I mean, when we walked around the other day, and I'm seeing some of these guys that I recognize from 30 years ago.
Yep, from
it's
the
just amazing.
mid-90s.
Yeah, that we're here when Mark was here. How do you keep people? I mean, that's the first question we should talk about is, retention of employment. In this day and age, it's obviously changed for you. We were talking about that the other day.
Yeah. So the blessing is our full-time staff is our strength. We're struggling with part-time seasonal people like everybody is, especially in the Lehigh Valley with the warehouse crisis. But keeping the full-time people, I don't know. I guess it's paying them and have them like their job, right?
It's an interesting comment. Lehigh Valley, which is Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton, has been a boom for warehousing. So all the farmland in this area has now been converted into warehousing. So I'm sure a lot of folks are going to those jobs, and coming to work on the golf course is probably not their first choice when they can get. I don't know, what's a warehouse even paying? $25 an hour?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and you're paying, and you're not near there.
We don't pay the seasonal people $25 an hour.
I imagine you would. But where are you getting seasonal people from? How do you find them?
Well, marketing, advertising on Indeed, but word of mouth. People.
Somebody's kid.
Yeah, or somebody who has done business here. Yeah. Or it probably helps having Northampton Community College so close also. But, I know we're more golf maintenance oriented in this conversation with EarthWorks, so excuse me when I tie it into the whole facility. That's what we want to know. Food and beverage side, I think, has been more difficult than even the maintenance side.
Really?
On the staffing.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, but where are you finding those people?
Again, Indeed, word of mouth, Northampton Community College.
How big is F&B staff? How big a staff do you try?
Well, overall at times, I know we have 70 people on payroll, depending.
Full-time?
Seasonal. Not full-time,
okay.
No. So full-time seasonal,
And
no, that wouldn't be full-time seasonal. Some people only work 5 or 10, 15 hours.
And you were telling me the wedding business since COVID has slowed down.
Since COVID, our wedding business is certainly down.
And why is that? What do you think that is?
I don't know. I think the world's changed a little bit. Golf has certainly picked up in its boom.
You're packed all the time. Every time I drive by here, parking lot's full.
Yeah, I have friends that hadn't golfed in 25, 30 years, and now they're playing twice a week.
Wow. Yeah. That's
so
a good thing.
Golf is booming again, without a doubt.
Yeah, you were even suggesting to me the other day that you thought maybe even, the thought process of coming to what is perceived as a country club for a wedding has changed.
Yeah, maybe. I personally do believe, maybe we're in a period of brides or, that age group being a little less traditional.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say. I think some of the data out there also says it's
they don't want to pay for it. Is that what
well,
that's more likely the case?
I guess
right?
everybody's looking
you're
for
on your
somebody,
own, kid. Go to the Holiday Inn or something, or go to the bar and get married over there. That's very possible. So talk about golf. Golf is up.
Golf is up. Golf outings are up. A golf outing not only creates the revenue for charities, but also fellowship. It strengthens their fellowship and their mission and their cause. So golf's booming, and people want to be outside, and they're playing and enjoying it.
How many outings?
60.
Really?
This year we'll do 59 or 60 golf.
And how big are they?
Oh, the average is over 100.
Really?
120 golfers. Yeah.
Wow, that's good. I mean, that's very good. And like you said, you got people that haven't golfed forever and now are golfing again. And
I think the golf outing atmosphere fits them well because they're playing in a scramble. They can tell their friends they're golfing. They watch golf's become a spectator sport. They watch golf on TV. They buy golf clothing. They wear, golf jewelry. So they like to buy the clubs. They get to tell their friends they play golf.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, we all know it's not real golf when you're hitting somebody else's ball off the fairway.
If you're in the golf business, we want that around though.
Let's talk about COVID. You got into 2020. COVID hits, you were probably shut down for a few months, right?
Yeah, and it was very scary.
It must have been. I mean, I know what it was like just as an owner of a company, how petrifying that was. What did it feel like? What you must have been losing your mind.
I think I took it day by day, and maybe more so with the COVID than some of the other things we do. Really valued the input from the staff.
Yeah.
So. And we followed the regulations.
This is the state regulations. What were they? What did the Pennsylvania tell you had to do? They shut you down for a while, right?
I don't remember. It changed basically monthly.
Yeah.
So, but we were shut down for some period of time.
Yeah.
And then there was the phase when we were coming out of the regulations when we had a lot of cancellations because people were still getting not just outings, but like banquets. When we were allowed to have banquets with the reduced capacity, probably 50% of the events that were booked canceled because someone got sick or the fears. But I think right now we're, even though people are still getting sick with COVID, I think we've learned how to handle it and deal with it. And, I'd say we're back to normal for the most part. 90%, 95% the world.
Yeah. So 2020, when was golf? When did you start to realize you might actually survive? I mean, when did you start rest in your head that you were?
People were coming out. Again, I don't have the exact date
I
memorized, but when the regulations were remember the golfing that we were supposed to one person per card and. Plexiglass dividers and working through that, and basically people started to play golf once once word was out.
It was the only thing you could do. It was you could be outside and be separated from people, especially the way I play. I'm always playing by myself in the woods somewhere, looking for my ball in the high grass. I mean, it's just the perfect place to be during that. I mean, I've talked to a lot of superintendents about this, and it was that whole fear of, will this ever come back? And then all of a sudden it came back in a boom, and then there was another problem of being able to keep up with that big amount of golf. Did you have that here at Green Pond?
Yeah, and managing the staff and who was going to work the pro shop and the maintenance department, how you were going to keep people separating and the social distancing and the equipment. So it certainly was a challenge, but people put their minds together and we got through it.
Did you have one person per cart for a while?
For a short period of time, we were one person per cart.
Do most people use carts here at Green Pond?
Cart rounds are probably, it depends on the time of day. Weekends, carts are mandatory.
Just to keep everybody through. Yeah.
But I'd say cart rounds are over 80% of your.
Oh, okay. So you're not getting a lot of walkers. So there
Not
wasn't a lot of separation.
And every year there's less walk. And this is a great course to walk.
It is a great course to walk. But as I was commenting to you that when we were driving around the other day, it's like, wow, I'm like younger than most of your golfers here, and I'm not young anymore. But it's a great great place to come out and play. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about you. You went to Rutgers.
Yep.
And how did you even get into this business of golf maintenance?
So I got into the golf business. I grew up a mile down the road from Blue Ridge Country Club in Palmerton.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. The superintendent was Paul Weiss. I went there for a summer job, and hopefully, he's still with us right now. Last I touched base with him was maybe 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. I haven't talked to Paul forever.
He's up in age now, but he was a mentor, and basically threw it out there about thinking about the golf business for a career.
You were high school.
Just graduated. I was going to Lehigh County Community College at the time.
For what?
To go to college, Joe.
Because mom and dad said it's a good idea to go to college.
Yeah. Yep, and I worked at Blue Ridge basically full time or close to full time, and then I went to Rutgers after.
So you didn't get through any other degree?
No.
So you got the bug. You got the bug early.
Yeah.
See, you're exactly the person that we need to find for future, superintendents in this business.
Oh yeah.
I mean, find those young kids that have the golf bug. We've been talking on the podcast to a lot of superintendents, and they always, the first question they always ask in the interview process of anybody, could be, a kid for the lowest level staff job, do you like to play golf? Get them hooked on the game, and hey, come out, Monday afternoon or whatever it might be, play some golf and get the bug. But that's, obviously you got that fairly early.
And it was a great job working outside and learning also. When you're young like that, I was really into it. I was learning about the grass, a little bit about soils. Yeah. I'm glad things worked out the way they did.
We're gonna go through your story because it's such a good one. So you decide to go to Rutgers, and so you're a Pennsylvania guy, and you decide to jump ship from Penn State to Rutgers.
Yeah, and then after Rutgers, I went to work for Pat Campbell at Panther Valley Golf and Country Club. Remember Pat?
Yeah, very well.
He had passed away during COVID. Yeah. And then after Panther Valley, I come to Green Pond. Green Pond, I was hired to be the golf course superintendent.
So you only had one job before Green Pond? I thought you had another. I thought you would have worked full
time.
Blue
Ridge and Panther Valley Golf and Country Club.
That was during school.
Yeah.
How long were you at Panther Valley?
Probably about 5 years.
Okay.
5-6 years.
So you hadn't been in the business that long when you got this job.
Not really.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was 150 years ago. That's amazing.
It seems like it.
Doesn't it, though? So you come here. I'm going to tell this story because it's one of my favorite stories. We talked about it the other day. But you came here, and we had worked with your predecessor, and in fact had been my business partner Jerry's tenant at a house that he owned. So we happened to know Mark before you got here, and we had just started the company, and Mark graciously let us spread some dusty fertilizer on one of his fairways, and he became a big believer. So he leaves, and then here comes Rodger, and we don't know you from Adam. And we come in, you were very gracious, came in, sat down, and I went through the whole process of what we had been doing, and we'd been doing it for, prior to you, probably 5, maybe 10 years. I'm not even sure how long. But he'd been putting down, some carbon-based fertilizer. He sprayed a lot of CalVantage, liquid calcium. And I remember going back to the office, and Jerry came to me and goes, "Hey, how's the new guy over there?" He goes, "I don't think we're going to ever hear from him again." Because you had been, you had your own thing, and that's how it works. You'd been at Panther Valley and had that program working, and you kind of basically said to me, I kind of know what I'm doing, and I'm good. So, but thanks for showing me. And then you called me back, and you should probably tell the story. But my memory of this is that you called me back about 6 months later. You'd gotten this job. You were very busy, and then you said to me, hey, can you come back out here? Because I've been so busy. I haven't even thought about fertility, and the place is looking great. What the hell were you guys doing here again?
Yeah.
And that's my memory, and that's what I've been telling anybody. It might be completely different coming from your brain.
You know, it's close. I just hope I wasn't rude. I was a young guy.
Not at all.
You know, thought I knew it all. Yeah. And midsummer, I was just amazed. I'd never been able to push a soil probe in the ground so far. You know, if it hit a stone or a rock, it didn't go in. But where there was no stones, that soil, you could just keep pushing it down. And you had talked about the soil being looser, and, you know, it all made sense. And I thought, you know, I want to talk to Joel in person here.
Well, it was fun because we got back together. But but that's what we had done when we got here. The soil was hard as rock. I mean, this area of Pennsylvania is high in magnesium, typically low in calcium. And Mark listened to us enough that we put limestone down. And this gets me into a lot of trouble with some of the academics. But this is exactly what happened on this property. We limed it. We brought the calcium levels up. We kind of pushed out some magnesium, and it loosened and flocculated the soil. And by the time you got there, and Mark had a very light budget. I mean, he didn't have a lot of money to spend. And of course, back then we were, you know, everything was a lot less than what you're paying these days, of course. But he, you know, he was smart. He did the exact right things. He got the calcium levels right, and then he maintained enough that he could work off of a modest budget. But when you got there, yeah, there was a big change. And like I said, Jerry was like, yeah, we made a lot of changes on that property. He's going to, you know, get a lot of stuff. And I'm like, I don't think we're going to ever see him again. I think that's all right. I think our years at Green Pond are done. But
25 years later.
25 years later, we're still talking. So so now you start to get into, you know, the heart of your business. So you're superintendent, you're realizing what's going on, and you saw some of that. So we started talking again.
Yeah. 2001 or 2002 is when I become the general manager. But going back to the soil and the turf, I had never seen a golf course drain the way Green Pond did.
And it wasn't always that way.
Blue Ridge had a lot of shale.
Yeah.
But some of the lower areas still held water. You know, this golf course just drained, and the greens drained so well for native soil. So I knew the process was working.
Let's go back to the golf course. How old is this property? Do you know?
I think the golf course was built, Alex Finley designed, 1929.
Which is amazing. Yeah, good name architect.
1934 was the first year of the Lehigh Valley Amateur. This year was the 86th Lehigh Valley Amateur.
Oh, wow.
It's always been held here.
I didn't know that.
Guess it sort of mirrors the Masters, know, since 1934.
Close. Yeah. It's very close to Augusta. Looks just
similar golf course, right?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, except for the rhododendrons, maybe. You should get some more rhododendrons out here. You know, let's talk about this. I was out the other day. You're out pruning roots.
Yep. Yeah, we had Andre and Son on a day rental with the Amandus root pruning. Have a ton of trees out there.
Yeah.
So
old course. A lot of trees, and you've removed some trees, and we talked about removing more trees. I mean, that's certainly the vogue. But talk about what the root pruning does. I mean, why do you bring them in? Have you ever done that before? Is that new?
It's the first time I've root pruned here, to be honest.
Okay.
I've root pruned. We used to root prune at Panther Valley, but we
so
we could snap
trees,
a picture light and day of, if you cut that trench in or you root prune. Before and after, we've all seen the pictures of how much better the turf looks because of the roots not stealing the nutrients and the moisture.
Yeah. So you made the decision that, you got a lot of trees. You got a lot of old trees. So these things have never been pruned. Some of them are probably from when the course was built, I'm guessing. You got big trees out here.
So the white pines were planted in the early 70s. I think they're about 50 years old, and they were over planted. So we've removed so many trees and you can't tell. So 2 years later, you forget there was a tree there.
Anybody say anything about the root pruning? You probably wouldn't even notice it.
I think a lot of the golfers that were questioning had never seen it.
What are you doing?
Why are you cutting those slits in the ground?
Yeah. So explain why you root prune, just so everybody, I mean, I'm sure most superintendents get it, but I mean, for those who don't.
So not just in the fine turf, but even in the rough, the tree roots grow out into the turf, and they steal moisture and nutrients, but mostly the moisture. I mean, once you put that slit in there, once you do the physical root pruning, the following year, as soon as you start getting some stress, you can see the line,
Should have done this a year ago before the drought.
So what I am afraid of, once you start the process, I think you should do it every 3 years, because nature has a way of making them come
they'll
back.
actually go and get bigger and bigger. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're gonna
Yeah.
split. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't thought about that. So you're stuck on that one. But you're the GM and the big cheese now, so you
Oh.
can come up with the money. What was this summer like? It was a horrible year in this part of the country. For those who don't know, we had, and I think I'm 20 minutes from here in my office, but we had 3 months of zero rain.
Well, June, we were probably below average in June, but the rain was timely. It rained like once a week, midweek, or on a Friday, maybe 3/4 of an inch. But once we got into July, we were in severe drought, color red drought phase.
Yeah.
So it was a very tough summer to grow turf.
So a property like this, a lot of golfers, public golf course, what kind of stress did that present to you guys?
Definitely stress on all the
Yeah.
fine turf areas. Definitely.
Were you able to do anything? I mean, you're pulling hoses or running
Pulling
water all the
hoses,
time.
hand watering, because of a single row irrigation system too. Basically, a lot of times it was so dry, the irrigation would start at 8, 9 at night, and golfers are still out playing at a public golf course, and the irrigation would run till 8, 9 in the morning.
So-
On the fairways
Right.
and tees.
Well, that kind of messes up golf a little bit.
A little
doesn't it?
bit.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of complaints?
No,
They kind of understand.
no,
what's
they
going on.
they understand.
So that had to have shifted labor. I mean, because you're working, managing water, and other things were getting missed. Or you're just
It's
working
all
harder.
when it's as severe as it was this summer, it's certainly all hands on deck.
Yeah.
To keep the turf alive and to babysit the turf.
Any disease issues? Anything you fought because of it?
So isolatedly, but we have ryegrass fairways here, and with the tree pocketing, I do suffer with gray leaf spot. It's always been a threat. I think the first year we've had it severe was 9/11. 2001, and we had quite a bit of gray leaf spot this summer.
Yeah.
Classic, down the rough, because the fairways are sprayed.
Right.
The
the rough
ryegrass
wasn't, yeah.
just dying end of August into September along the edges of the fairways and creeping into some of the fairways.
And you've been moving some bluegrass in.
I actually, the tee, when I've built tees in the modern times here in the last
Yeah.
five years or so, we've sodded the tees to low mow bluegrass. Some of our fairway extensions are because of the development that was put in, the stormwater easements that cross fairways, we've sodded those areas with low mow blue. And the low mow blue has really held up well on the tees. On the fairways, depending on the location, because of the cart traffic, still not sold yet.
The plan is to remove trees.
Plan is to remove trees. Yeah.
What kind of grief will you get?
It's mixed. I mean, some golfers like to see trees gone, and some golfers, I think it depends how far you hit
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it, again, driving around the other day, I was out here with you before noon, right? Well, actually, I got here at 9 and probably left 10:30, and you were still shaded in most of your fairways.
Yeah.
A lot of,
Yeah.
a lot of the fairways. So
Yeah, which isn't good.
no, it's not good. Dew's not leaving. You're setting yourself up for disease. Probably helps golfers like me, because I tend to use the tree to bounce off and go back into the fairway if I can. It's a design plan by my golf game, but yeah, you've got an awful lot of trees. So getting some of especially the pine tree.
Yeah, those white pines have surface roots. So in some of our rough areas, it's almost turned to a woodland scenario because we have a closed canopy.
Yeah.
Once you get off the fairway,
we
15 yards, it's a closed canopy.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that. There's a couple pockets you've got. Oh, that's a nice little woods in there. You got deer hanging out there, and tree houses being built from kids, and all sorts of stuff. Talk about. I really want to get into your transition from coming here as a super to becoming GM and beyond, and what's that like? I mean, for a little. For a public course with a lot of people, and you guys have done a lot. We're sitting in your clubhouse now, and you've done a lot of work since you've been here on this facility. And it's beautiful, by the way. It really is very nice.
We built this room in 2006, 2017, upgraded the banquet rooms this past winter. built 4 new golf tees out. So there's so many senior golfers, and having a set of gold markers, there just wasn't enough space for
the full guys.
Yeah, so we built 4 2 summers ago. Actually, the tail end of COVID, we built some gold tees, and then we built 4 more gold tees this summer.
In-house?
Basically in-house with the Pete Coughlin.
Yep.
Owned PSA Turf and Irrigation.
Local.
He shaped them, roughed them out, and basically worked as a in combination with the crew.
But used your crew basically to do all the heavy lifting.
Yep.
Which is good. Talk about some of your crew. I mean, you've got a couple guys here that have been here for a long time. You inherited. Was it a challenge when you got there? I mean, they had been there for years prior to you. What was the transition of coming into an pretty strong, tight-knit crew and being able to keep them? I mean, that's to me one of the greatest compliments that I could give any superintendent, is to be able to keep their crew. I mean, and it seems like in the Lehigh Valley, John Chassard, who we've had on the podcast that you know well, and dear friend, and his guys have been there for forever, and I don't know why anybody would want to work for John. I hope you're listening, John.
Yeah.
But how do you do this? I mean, this has got to be a real secret, to be able to transition them from a old super to new super, and then keep these guys for a long time.
I mean, we can talk science-based about the fertilizer, but the world's people-based.
Yeah.
And Jack Geiger's worked here since the 1970s. His father was the superintendent in the 60s and early 70s.
I didn't know that. Jack's dad was the
Jack's dad was the superintendent.
Oh, I did not know that. So
Jimmy,
this is the only place he's ever worked?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Wow. God bless him.
He was probably out here in diapers, I'm assuming. We know how that goes when you're born in the business.
Exactly.
Jimmy's worked here, since 1986. The story is he drove a bicycle here from Northampton to work on the golf course. So.
Yeah. And we just had a podcast that's airing today, actually, that's talking about bicycle superintendents getting to their course on bicycles.
But the strength of the maintenance department is the full-time staff, without a doubt. I have some long-term dedicated part-time staff or weekend staff also that only work weekends, and they've been with me 15 years or longer.
Just guys that want to come and mow fairways.
Yeah.
Every lawyer I've ever worked with in my life has asked me, how do I get a job just mowing fairways? That's all I want to do at this point in my career. But yeah, so maybe there's an outlet for weekend help, is the old lawyers ready to retire. Any good stories of transitioning from one administration to another? I mean, did you you had to be a little bit different than your predecessor. So was there any learning curve for you, or did you just walk right into it?
With anything, there's always a learning curve.
I'm looking for good lessons to be taught to somebody else in the business.
Yeah, I think it was just learning the food and beverage.
Okay.
Learning the food and beverage side of the business. But things have really changed people-wise on our food and beverage.
Yeah.
Side.
So when did you get onto this? So when did you become GM? When did you decide to go into that route?
I think it was the end of 2001 or beginning of 2002. Started November in '98.
Oh, so you weren't here that long before you kind of moved up, but you're still technically the superintendent. So
I guess technically.
So you're still wearing all the hats. I mean, you got a crew that knows what they're doing, so they can run the show. It allowed you the opportunity to come up into the house and play here. Was that talk about that, because that's becoming more and more popular, superintendents moving into this GM role.
Yeah. Again, the people skills and collaboration. One thing at Green Pond, I'm not trying to say we don't use the verbiage of the maintenance department or the pro shop department, or the food and beverage department. Everybody's in it together. There's once or twice a week, the maintenance department is doing work in this clubhouse or assisting with something, whether it's setting up chairs for a wedding. Same thing with the pro shop. The starters are helping. So a lot of collaboration together between the departments.
Is that your leadership?
I guess I'd want to take credit for it, but
who was there a general manager prior to you taking over that role?
There was a general manager.
So somebody had left,
and
you had taken over the role, and so you realized really quickly that the culture needs to be all inclusive.
Yeah, we did change the culture, and I think people worked a lot better together after that period.
Are you enjoying this part of it, or would you really rather
Oh,
just
every
be...
day I enjoy it. You know?
So you're not missing just cutting grass, or the grass side of things. Of course, this is a smaller. I mean, this is not one of the huge country club settings,
No.
and the politics is not anything like a big country club. But it's still a big job that you've taken on, and you're basically running the show here. You know.
Been running the show, yeah.
Yeah.
The cutting grass parts, unlike some other superintendents, I sort of never cut grass. In the
Smart man.
very little. I was always doing spraying, irrigation, or building a tee, or building a bunker, or a project.
Well, that's good.
And
delegation is important in this business.
It evolved up to
and again,
this.
you
now.
inherited a great crew, so they knew what they were doing. So what's the day-to-day now? GM, you're making butter patties, folding napkins. I mean, what are you doing?
In season, in the summertime, in the morning, drive around the golf course, check the course out.
So you're still doing that every morning?
Oh, almost
In
every,
season, yeah.
unless God gives us a nice rainfall or some cool
Which didn't
weather.
happen this year.
You know, if you're allowed to exhale, then don't do it. But you have to have your eye on the ball out there. So meet with the banquet manager, sales manager every day. We talk every day.
I was intrigued. EarthWorks is going to have their Christmas party here this year, which I don't know why it took me so damn long to figure that out. Because first of all, wait, Rodger's right around the corner, and it's we should give our business to Rodger. But finally, through our friends at Fisher and Son, we realized that we got to come here. So, but I was overly impressed. You're walking around with your phone, pulling up the schedule, and you're showing me all the banquets. Oh yeah, that date's open, and so this is always with you.
Hey, thank God for technology.
Yeah, exactly.
I know we curse technology, but I don't know how I could do my job without technology.
So you're always, so you got in your pocket everything that's going on in this house. Yeah. So every day that's going on, you're walking and okay, there's a luncheon coming on, there's a outing going on, and so you're preparing, and you've got a team that's managing that, obviously.
Yes.
So did that change the mindset of going from golf to having to stare at that phone every night?
Well, we didn't have the phone 20
years.
Say, we didn't have that phone
you didn't have
20 years ago. So
you had the flip chart, and you were.
I always think back. I don't remember how we did it then.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah,
it's changed so much, and we're so immersed what we do right now.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, the same thing in any business.
How from all of it, the daily schedule.
Yeah.
So when did you start putting your whole calendar on your phone?
Yeah,
by the hour.
When I got an Apple phone that had a calendar on it, but I don't know how to live without it.
Yeah,
and I share it with the company, with the family, and it's like, oh, okay, you know where I'm going? I didn't even know I was going there. And it was kind of, it's just, you're locked to it now. But, for doing what you're doing and juggling all that balls that you got in the air.
Any tool helps.
Yeah. So what's the big headache in the F&B side of things? I mean, this is...
Big headache right now, food prices, but probably, again, more so than out on the golf course, labor. Yeah. It's been challenging.
So, you were saying...
Labor costs are up. Full-time people and you're like long-term seasonal people working more hours, working overtime, and higher training costs. We had a stretch with talking with Shauna this summer. I think we had like 20 events in a row where somebody was being trained on a banquet because of turnover and new people.
So typical banquet, 40, 50 people. How many people do you have to have here?
On a 40, 50 person banquet, well, behind the scenes, the back of the house, there's a chef, an assistant chef, a dishwasher, and at least two wait staff.
Yeah.
It depends if they have a bartender.
Right. So you got three.
And a salesperson. So
you got a team here.
It depends on there's a lot of.
And you got 60
involved.
of these going on a year. 60 events you had scheduled this year?
No, probably 250 events a year.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
We used
60
golf outings. 60 golf outings.
I'm sorry. I should break these things down and pay attention better. But even the golf outings, you still have to have a pretty good staff. Are you feeding all the golf outings? You're providing food?
I think out of that high 50-some golf outings, every one but one has dinner and awards here afterwards.
Oh, wow. So
it kills the event if they don't do...
Right.
And they're missing out on if they don't do dinner and awards. They miss out on some of the fellowship and, letting everybody know what their cause is.
But then you've got to have the grounds crew ready, then you've got to have the F&B folks ready, And it's a whole day event.
It's a whole day event. Now I do sell the golf outings. I have Nancy Oakley assist me with that because I'm the best coordinator between the food and beverage and the golf.
Right.
So
how many times have you been behind the bar?
I try to never 10 bar. So,
Probably a wise move.
I've helped, but I try not to 10
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, you got to throw people
filling
into
the beverage cart, help out with that all the time.
Yeah.
Probably don't help on that enough.
Yeah.
So
there you go. I'm sure everybody here would agree with you on that. You bring any of the crew in from the grounds crew and to
we have a
cover?
couple very big events and double shotguns again that it's all hands on deck, that some of the maintenance guys have had to help with, bring product upstairs from the basement. So
Any good stories you can tell about nightmare events that crash and burned on you that we don't have to name names, but I'm always intrigued by some of these events where people just can't keep their act
if it
together.
comes to me, I'll interrupt. But I forget all my failures. I only remember the successes.
Smart man.
Yeah.
So what's the future of Green Pond? What happens now?
Hey, golf's booming right now. So
what'd you tell me? 20%, 20, 30% up?
Oh yeah, at least 15 to 25%, depending on daily play, golf outing play.
How much has that affected the golf course? Are you?
This summer, because of the stress of the drought, you could see that there was a lot of play.
Yeah.
A lot of divots, a lot of cart traffic. Yeah.
Although I'll tell you, your tees were phenomenal. I mean, those tees were holding up pretty well. When we drove around the other day, I'm looking. I thought your tees would be really toast by now. I mean, after this is now October, but after a long, hot, dry summer, did the heat slow down anybody? Did they just keep coming? I mean, it was a hot summer here.
This summer, I think the golfers just kept coming. When I remember back to 99, 2000, we had some hot, dry summers then. I do remember the middle of the day being slower.
Yeah.
But this year there was no break.
Yeah.
And so today the tee sheet's booked too. So
really? Well, it's a beautiful Friday and it's a Friday, so that we're recording this. But
and pre-COVID, golf was, every year golf was down a little bit. Rounds were, supply was outpacing demand. There was a lot of places people could play. A lot of available tee times, and player participation was down.
And you were still in this role as a general manager. You were running the show. That had to be pretty nerve-wracking back in those days.
Yeah, I think right now, though, it's more nerve-wracking because of not knowing who's going to sit on if the dishwasher is going to show up, or what the steak's going to cost, what the dozen of eggs is going to cost. And so,
Now, I would assume food costs, as they continue to go up, gets passed on. I mean, that's got to be just
for the most part. It does.
It has to be.
For
as
the
a
most
business,
part,
you have to do that.
Yeah.
Are you getting any pushback when people are setting up?
Well, whenever you raise prices, there's a level of pushback, without a doubt. But the average person, the average customer understands. They're seeing it everywhere. They see it when they go to the grocery store. If they go to other restaurants. I hate to use this as an example, but say 3 years ago, we all went to some bar that had the 50-cent hot wing night. Right?
It's now $1.50.
Yeah.
Or
now,
$5.
Now 10 wings are $15.
Yeah, you're showing your colors, but I love it. It's great. Yeah, no, it's everybody seems to be kind of used to it all, and you're a business.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing on the golf course. Have you raised golf prices?
Basically, our golf fees have been increasing between 2 and 5% a year.
Okay.
So.
Because last 3 years, I mean, I know this as well as anybody. Fertilizer prices are through the roof. Price of nitrogen is, it's gone through the roof, and it's not really coming back.
Grass seed,
fertilizer,
fertilizer.
Outrageous. Yeah. That's.
But the labor costs are up.
That's the biggest fear. Yeah. So you're what will you tell me? 20% increase in labor costs?
At least 20%.
And you have a relatively small staff, comparatively speaking, in our industry, but that's still got to be a big nut to be, because you're not drawing the kind of, you're not pulling in revenues like a big country club is, and you got to be watching every dollar. How was it getting into going from being a grass grower and an agronomist to looking at a spreadsheet every day? I mean, did you know anything about? I mean, you did budgets obviously for the golf course, but
there was a learning curve.
Yeah.
Thank God for Google.
Right. Exactly.
But I think some of it's, again, the secret to everybody's success is that network of people they surround themselves with. I have a lot of smart friends, a lot of smart people in the business, just networked with people.
So you
learn
asked.
from a bunch of different people and different mechanisms.
Yeah, that's even starting a small business. I mean, I remember the days when we started this, being so nervous about all the financials. I tell a story often. Back when I started EarthWorks in the early '90s, we were doing QuickBooks on a ledger, a written ledger.
Wow.
Yeah, that shows my age now, doesn't it? You probably never had a written ledger. You might have had a written calendar, but never a ledger. And I remember going in one night after being on the road for a couple of days, and I'm trying to balance the ledger, and for some reason I'm off by 10 grand, which was a massive amount of money at the time. And what had happened, it just got transposed from the top to the bottom incorrectly. And when I finally figured it out, I mean, it took me, when you stare at stuff like that,
sweating
for a while,
hands, couple heart palpitations.
I'm panicking. And when I'm, luckily, you stare at it long enough, you don't really even see where it is. And then finally you realize somebody transposed the number from the bottom to the top incorrectly. And I'm about to overdraft my bank account by 10 grand. At that point, that was bankruptcy. Yeah. Luckily, I had a business partner that was financially stout enough to pull me through. But that was frightening. I mean, looking at the finances and running a business, and luckily you learn how to ask the right questions and get good people working for you. But it had to be pretty nerve-wracking coming from that side to this side.
Sort of, yeah. And again, but it's been so long, I actually forget I know I spent a lot of time in the beginning with the club's accountant, and got an education there, and things just took. I have that appetite for it. I do like it. The financials, the numbers got to work in anything you do. Right, it doesn't matter if it's athletics, sports, out in the maintenance department, the food and beverage. The numbers got to work. The math got to work.
So, what kind of advice would you give a superintendent that might be in the position of moving into a GM's role? And it's happening more and more nowadays. I mean, would you recommend it?
I think it depends on the facility.
Yeah.
And if they want to do it, of course they can. And there's guys out there that have paved the way that they can reach out and network to.
Yeah. What's the relationship now? I assume you have, lead folks on the grass side. What's the relationship now between, since you are, essentially moved into GM, the guys on the crew that are maintaining the turf? Are they looking at you sideways, or like, you're the GM now, leave me alone? Or
well, we're going back 20. I've been the GM for 20 years, and we talk daily. So, maybe back then, I don't even remember. It just flows.
Good. That's all good.
We communicate every day, whether it's face to face and texting on different things. They really do know what they need to do. And they have the experience, and they've seen it. You know, this is not the first drought Jack and Jim went through. You know,
Jack and Jim, that's a great name. We should remember that. Let's talk about. I mean, I remember back when you got here. Our little community here in the Lehigh Valley had a pretty active association, golf.
The Lehigh Valley Superintendent.
Yeah, and we played. I mean, you were there many times. I was there a lot of times. I sponsored a lot of them, and that's kind of gone by the wayside. Is there anything going on, and what's going on with the camaraderie and that kind of work? It's because everybody's overworked and wants to get home. I mean. Is there anything? I mean, there's still associations.
So there may be in the, there's a texting club now, a group chat text. And I would say that most of the texts have to do with labor.
Yes. Well, of course.
So believe it or not.
So the associations have become texting clubs now. So you guys are staying in communication.
Well, we were a local, non-official association.
Well, that particular club. Yeah, this was basically, let's go play golf at somebody's place, and Joel and a couple other guys will bring a case of beer, and
everybody could network.
Yeah, and it was blast, and we had fun. But but those kind of groups have really kind of gone by the wayside, and I've talked to many people across the country. Even the official associations. What do we have up here? We got Philly coming up.
Philly, the Poconos. Centrally.
Are you sponsoring?
I'm a member of the Pocono, and I have not. Shame on me. I have not been to a meeting in quite some time.
And why is that? That's the question.
I could,
Well, you're busy. I mean,
I'm very busy, and family, I had basically, my fiance Jane has a 14 and a 16-year-old son.
Boy.
We're very close, do a lot together. And I have a 17-year-old daughter that softball's all encompassing, sports. So
sports are different now than they were 20 years ago with kids, because they would just go off and do their thing, and now it's full-time operation.
Now we got to drive 2 hours
right,
for the sports
exactly.
and stay overnight.
And that's kind of hard to go out and hit some balls with the buddies and drink some beers. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's interesting that you guys are staying close to via text. I assume you still have some pretty close friends in the neighborhood. I know Ed Gross, who's a good friend of ours.
A bunch of my friends are Ed and I talk all the time. Talk to Jeff Fanek at Brookside Country Club in Pottstown a lot. He's a big EarthWorks guy too. Isn't that something? All my friends are EarthWorks guys.
Hey, well, there's a connection there. We indoctrinated this community pretty closely, but this is where we started. So we fanned out from here, but and it works. So, it's kind of interesting to see how the communication with other superintendents has gone, and it's how often do you see Jeff?
So I probably only see him a handful of times a year, but I probably talk to him every day.
Oh, do you? Oh, that's good.
I probably talk to Ed every week, every 2 weeks. Jeff Fanek, every day we talk.
Yeah, and Ed's 5 minutes down the street here. Yeah, that's and again, we used to get together monthly. There was always a monthly meeting, and
the world's changed.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, we learned to play golf and had fun and did stupid things and then all sorts of stuff, but it was camaraderie at its finest. So talk agronomy today. Has it changed? Has it changed for you? Your soils have been, I still put you on a pedestal because we've been working here for so long, and your soils are really, the whole point of doing good soils management is that it makes it easier so you can do less. Less is what it's all about. Being able to put a probe into the ground didn't happen overnight, but being able to maintain that makes your life a lot easier.
Well, due to construction, I have some areas, Joel, we're going to have to work on.
We talked about that.
Yeah, some
a couple
of the
more soil tests to be pulled.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
But I certainly reaped the benefits of that 30 some years of the EarthWorks, the organic fertilizers on the fairways.
Without getting
tees.
personal, Green Pond to us was always a fairly small budget, but those were the ones that really benefited extremely well because you didn't have, you don't have, and you're still, a modest budget on maintaining the golf course. You can't just go bail yourself out with a box of this or a couple jugs of that every time there's a problem. You've got to have your agronomy down right when you're a smaller club with a more limited budget. And you guys have done great with that.
Yeah, everybody has their challenges. Maybe it's more critical at the small court.
I think it is.
We suffer with, and again, I don't want to just poster boy a product, but wear areas, leaving the walk-off areas, leaving a tee or leaving a green, for over 25 years. They get special treatment with 545 or the 343.
Well, you think about it. That's where everybody sees, and if they continue to wear and tear, it just makes it look worse and worse. So it's easy and cost effective, and you've done a hell of a job. Driving around, I haven't been on the property for a long time until the other day, and and you had a tough summer, and you look great. Rough, you'll come back.
The rough's pretty beat up.
The rough will come back, but the tees look great. With the kind of rounds, and you're up. You're over 30,000 rounds, although I asked you this the other day and you don't know anymore. It's all finance.
I hate to track rounds. I track revenue.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're the GM. You should track revenue.
And events.
Exactly.
And available tee times, though.
So what's the future of events? Do you think they'll come back? Do you think the clubhouse will keep... they're coming back?
The events are certainly coming back, but weddings, again... I used to do almost 60 weddings a year pre-COVID, and we're creeping up. The dates are filling up in 2023 and 2024.
How many people can have? What's your biggest wedding here? You got a pretty good sized place here.
We can handle over 250, but
Oh,
the
wow.
average size is probably 125 to 150.
And you got a lot of space. This is a very comfortable place for
This room we usually hold the cocktail hour.
Yeah. This is where everybody at our Christmas party, because our band will be over there and they'll be very loud and they'll just like, how do we get away? They'll close those doors, by the way. Mike, our guitar player and marketing guru, is sitting here with us, but this is a perfect setup because they can come in here and hang out while we're over there having our fun. And our Christmas party is all about our band, which is, that's just all about. You've been to it a few times, so you've had to suffer through the loudness in small.
No, it's a lot of fun.
But yeah, so the what kind of events? We're talking golf outings,
Banquets, golf outings, retirement parties.
So these are starting to come back from COVID. So where
Oh,
they were
without a
all
doubt.
afraid of getting into groups, people are starting to come back to these kind of events.
Without a doubt.
And I would think they'd be coming back with gusto because it's been a while since, I'm sure a lot of people, you probably hear this if you're walking around. I mean, hey, we haven't seen you in 3 years or 5 years or whatever it's been, but you've got a perfect setup for that. How do you market for those kind of events? How do you go out and find them?
Again, collaboration. I have 3 people. I work on marketing. I have Nancy Oakley. She's been in marketing her whole life. I have a lady, Trish, that helps us marketing, and Shauna. We probably talk marketing greater than 2 days a week or emails daily on different things. So
Any tricks? I mean, how you going out to?
there's no trick. It's just
Word of
staying.
mouth.
Word of mouth is always the best.
Yeah.
On any kind of sales, right?
Yeah.
But do a lot of internet marketing these days. Less print.
How was and again, I know this has been a while now because you've been doing it so well, but superintendents are generally not very in tune to concepts of marketing. So you come from the maintenance shop up here and you got to start figuring out how I'm going to draw people in. I mean, that had to be completely foreign.
It was, but we had a person in place back then that worked for us part-time, and she's still with me today.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
So
It was a learning curve.
Yeah, so you just had a bunch of people that were supporting that and figuring it all out. You using newspapers? You doing anything like that?
Every year there's less print.
I was going to say.
Every year less
are
print.
we. I think we're getting close to being no print. But are you doing any social media?
Lots of social media.
So somebody on the team is managing
Yeah,
that.
one person just does
Okay.
social media.
So you're doing the gamut of that and just trying to get pictures out to show people what the place looks like.
So with pictures too, I have a person that does photography for me.
Oh, good. I might want to steal some of those. I need a picture of you, by the way.
Okay.
Before I forget to ask you that. But yeah, so that seems to be the place where everything's going. You marketing both golf and F&B?
Golf,
doing everything?
golf and banquet.
Do you need to market golf at this point? I mean, you're booked up all the time. I mean, I could see you wanting to bring events in, but do you really?
So we market golf.
You do, okay.
We market golf.
Even though the things.
I think if you want to sell it, you got to market it.
Yeah. So you can't. You haven't slowed that part down, even though rounds are up 30%.
We market golf.
And you'll continue to do that.
So I have them promise me they're not going to share some of the things that we figured out locally, so I can't say them.
That's fine.
Too.
That's all right. But
we market golf.
You're still moving forward,
Yeah.
which is good. Wear and tear on the golf course, is that gonna? What if you raised prices a little bit? Would it slow down some rounds and keep wear and tear down? Have you ever thought of that? I say that to superintendents all the time, and it's probably a stupid thing for me to say, especially coming at to a GM. But the concept being is you raise the price, you get less people, but you have less wear and tear, and you're making the same revenue. I mean, is that a completely stupid idea from a guy who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about?
The price of golf has to go up because all of our costs are going up.
Yeah.
The labor, the cost of the capital.
Yeah. Just money. Yeah.
I won't say which color piece of equipment. September, so I guess it would have been last September, a year ago. I got a quote on 2 hybrid type greens mowers, and I didn't pull the trigger and purchase them. And when I got, now they're still a year or 2 out. You probably heard this story from some other people.
Yes.
But when I got the price this April or May, and 2 hybrid greens mowers had jumped to $175,000 a piece. And the previous quote was, 50,000.
Could you
55.
even get them?
Well, no, even if I would have ordered them then, I wouldn't have them now yet.
Right. Yeah.
So
How is that? How is supply chain hurting you? Just the ability to get stuff.
okay, so I bought a beverage cart, signed a contract on a new beverage cart 2 years ago. It came today.
Oh, congratulations!
It arrived today.
Oh, can I drive it around? Have some
Sure.
fun?
Yeah.
Wow, 2 years to get a beverage cart.
Yeah, 2 years to get a beverage
So
cart
you're driving
because
that
it was
crappy old one.
It was an off-lease beverage cart.
Yeah.
And the cart provider couldn't provide new carts to the customer and take the existing inventory back till just here recently.
Is that same thing happening down in maintenance and mowers and other things? Are they slow to? Is that getting better?
I think it's got a lot better. It was scary. We had a couple mowers that we waited on parts for weeks or months in the history in the business. That has not been the case in the past.
We're finding it a challenge with bags, plastic, paper.
Everything.
Cost has gone through the roof, and availability has slowed down. And you'd think the simplest little thing. I mean, how hard is it to get the bag? I can't get you fertilized because I don't have anything to put it in. And the cost of the bags have gone up 4 or 5x in the last 2 years, and just the price of nitrogen.
Well, we've had to deal with that with cups too. So cups and various plates for events, that become unavailable, and you do things based on.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. But it's getting better?
It's getting better.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good. So you're going to be here for another 20 years?
I hope so. In some capacity, I guess.
Maybe end up being the bartender. You never know.
No, maybe just golfing.
Oh, I like that idea. That would be perfect. Yeah. Are you still golfing?
No, I hardly play golf anymore.
Really? You used to play golf quite a bit, didn't you?
Well, every week for sure, but
yeah.
I don't golf anymore.
Wow. Is that
no time?
It's all time. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Well, I hate to say this, but we are pushing up against our time frame here, so I'm going to let you go back to GMing and I don't know, whatever else you're going to do. But I want to thank you for all your support over the years and your friendship, and we're very excited about the opportunity to come and make a lot of noise in your beautiful building here at Christmas time, and I'm looking forward to that. Any last thoughts that you want to share with anybody that's so special about Green Pond here?
Green Pond is the Publix country club.
Oh, I like that. Is that part of the marketing strategy?
That is part of the marketing
I like
strategy.
that. So that's what you sit around talking about? How do you
a lot of people consider this in the Lehigh Valley their home course.
Yes, that's true.
And it means a lot to people.
And it has for a long time. I mean, I've been in this area since the early 80s. And Green Pond has always been, the place to go play golf for, unless you're doing the hoity-toity country clubs.
Yep.
But Green Pond has always, hey, you play golf? Yeah, I play over at Green Pond. And it's just a staple, and it's getting better. I mean, like I said, unfortunately, I don't get around much anymore. And seeing you recently, it was really cool to be able to drive around.
It's good to connect again.
And just like, wow, this has changed, and I like it, and it's doing well. And I love your story. I love the fact that you're come from the maintenance side, and you're running the show and doing well. And let me ask you this as the last question. Will we be able to maintain this COVID burst of golf? Will it stay? You guys have to be talking about that from a marketing strategy. I mean, you've got a lot of people coming in. Will this be the same thing in 5 years, do you think? 10 years? You got 20
I
years
think
left.
the 800-pound elephant are the younger people going to play golf like the over 50 crowd is right now.
Are you getting a lot of young people? Are you getting more young people
not as
than
many,
you did?
Not as many as I'd like.
Okay. But you've gotten more since COVID, I assume. There's a lot of young people come out. Now, has their game changed? I mean, are they coming out to be true golfers, or are they coming out to, drink some beers and take selfies? And I mean, what's the game look like for 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds?
Radio's on golf cart, listening to music, which is become way more popular than I think traditionalists like.
Yeah.
So,
and you don't restrict that at all.
We don't restrict it.
Anybody complain? Any old guy complain?
Some things that have gone away, I think that we get more complaints on are dress code.
Oh, really?
People not dressed like a golfer.
What are they dressed like? What are they wearing? Seniors?
T-shirts, just possibly cut off shorts, not dressed like a golfer. And
Yeah.
a lot of seniors do not like that.
So is there a rule here at Green Pond?
We have a rule. I don't do a good job with enforcing it, to be honest with
And
you.
it's typically the younger crowd?
Usually
Yeah.
the younger crowd.
Yeah, because they don't know.
Again, less traditional.
What are they wearing for shoes? They're probably not wearing golf shoes, right? Sneakers or
Sneakers. Yeah.
sandals? Barefoot?
I probably see more people on putting greens barefoot than I want to admit, to be honest with you, too.
It doesn't hurt the green.
No, it's pretty neat to walk on turf. Barefoot.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything. In fact, quite honestly, the spikes are much more damaging for you than somebody walking around barefoot. Kevin Hicks told me he had a hole-in-one shooting in either sandals or barefoot. So,
So now he wants to play all the time.
Exactly, I think so. But you never know. Rodger, thank you so much for everything you've done for us, and we'll see you again in December when we come back here with the EarthWorks team. But thank you for everything.
Thank you.
That is the EarthWorks podcast. Please be a subscriber and subscribe so you can hear what's coming up next, and we will always inform you as to who is on dock for the next go round of the EarthWorks podcast. And thanks again for all you've done for us.
Thank you, Joe.